Bray Wyatt Danhausen. Is this an evil pair that we're going to be seeing joining forces down the road? Some people think so. Montez Ford, will he be getting a singles push in the new draft version of Monday Night Raw? And Shane Helms talks about AEW Rampage and SmackDown ratings of this past Friday night. We're going to jump into all of these stories and more in today's edition of The Top Story.
Watch out, watch out, watch out, watch out!
What's up, everyone? It is the Tuesday afternoon edition of The Top Story. I'm Jose G. Next to me is Jeremy Bennett filling in for Kev Kellum. What's going on, broski? How are you?
Good, man. Excited to see what looks to be a good card for Crown Jewel this Thursday.
Yeah, it does look like a really good stat card, man. I'm actually, this is the one Crown Jewel. Well, this is the second one ever that I'm actually looking forward to watching midday on Thursday. So,
yeah,
tons of stuff that we're going to be doing this week, guys. We're going to be having a trivia challenge immediately right around 7 p.m. on Thursday. We're also going to be having the Crown Jewel post show immediately after the pay-per-view. So you guys can stay tuned to Sports Keto Wrestling for all the results and the reviews. Plus, we got tons of exclusive interviews right now on our YouTube channel. So make sure you head on over there, hit the subscribe button, smash that notification bell, and go ahead and give us that subscribe because we just surpassed, I think it was at 22,800. So now we're almost to 23,000. Though, guys, thank you so much. Keep us getting keep helping us get there, guys. And also, if you want to listen to the podcast version, you can subscribe in any of the major podcast outlets, Spotify, Apple, any of those. You guys go ahead and leave us a 5-star review and subscribe to the podcast. So we got this huge story that the internet and the Twitter machine is going wild over. And it's this whole Bray Wyatt and Danhausen situation. Now, Danhausen, one of the red hot guys right now in Ring of Honor, completely reinventing himself. And now he's just kind of just dominating the entire landscape over there. Much talked about. And today there was a Twitter post of a fan asking about some certain dream matches. And Bray Wyatt came up. What's the scoop here, bro?
Well, right now, earlier last week, Tony Khan had said that he has not spoken with Bray Wyatt, though, and also there's been reports that Bray Wyatt has had interest from Impact Wrestling as well. But then there was something very interesting, as recently on Twitter, a fan posted a question regarding dream matches, and they said they wanted to see Ring of Honor's Danhausen take on AEW's Orange Cassidy. And then Danhausen sported a picture of himself, and right there it is with him and Orange Cassidy. And then another fan said that they'd like to see Danhausen face off against Wyatt, and that got the attention of Bray Wyatt, who tweeted, "We should unite instead. How very evil of us." Very nice. Very nice. Very nice. Very evil.
Very fitting. It's the spookiest time of the month, October, Halloween's right around the corner. He's that evil character. Bray Wyatt fits perfectly. I think this is great. I think if we can get this, I will watch it. I mean, I think this is going to be something cool. But Bray Wyatt's been known to be doing some cryptic stuff like that all over Twitter all the time.
He's responding a lot lately to a lot of things, a lot of posts, and people keep their notifications on to see what he does next. But it is interesting, hell, I'd like that faction, throw in Orange Cassidy, make those three a faction. That'd be some entertaining stuff right there, I would say. I'm curious to see how long Danhausen stays at Ring of Honor, just because his popularity has soared over the past year.
Yeah, there's a lot of people noticing him. I mean, I didn't know about him until just a few months ago. I think you were talking about him in the chat. So I decided to start checking some of his stuff out.
Yeah.
Pretty impressive, man. He's pretty over. So, go ahead and check him out. And I think this is something that the hardcore fans are clamoring to see.
Oh, yeah. It's, there's usually a one indie guy that'll catch my eye once a year, especially like Mania season, where you see who wrestles what indie shows. Janela had caught my eye, Orange Cassidy had caught my eye one year, and now this year it's kind of like it's Danhausen is kind of that indie guy, though he is now at Ring of Honor. He hadn't really made too many appearances at Ring of Honor, but now he's starting to be more on TV a lot more often now. But has really taken the world by storm. He's really good friends with Ethan Page on the AEW roster, so he's got a lot of friends on that roster too. So it'll be very curious to see what his next step is in professional wrestling.
Oh, we got some people here in the chat. I'm for it. That be in Ring of Honor. I don't know. We don't know because Bray Wyatt's non-compete's about to come to be done.
Yeah,
and he's a free agent, so he can end up wherever he wants. So who knows? It might happen. It might happen.
1st of November, around the 1st of November is when that 90 days is going to come up, because I think it was like July 30th was the release date. So,
guys, stop it. Allie Howard, Dan H is nearly as hot as Jose.
Look at that.
Stop it. I couldn't even pull off a black and white makeup if I wanted to. All right, man. So we got this very interesting story today that we got from one Montez Ford. Just some backstage news on Montez Ford. We knew a few weeks ago he had a little test run in a singles match with Roman Reigns, and he performed marvelously against the Tribal Chief. Unfortunately, he did lose, but he did raise a few eyebrows backstage. What's the scoop here, Jeremy? Are you excited to see Montez Ford possibly going singles?
Well, we did have some news right around the draft, literally right after the draft, that stated there were originally plans to split up Dawkins and Montez Ford. Dawkins going to SmackDown, Ford going to Monday Night Raw with his wife, Bianca Belair. So that did not happen, obviously. The Street Profits remained together. Now, there are reports, according to Louis Dangour of Give Me Sport, there are reports that even though they did not break up the Street Profits now, that they may not be pumping the brakes on that singles push with Montez. They may actually look to have that split while Dawkins is on the Monday Night Raw roster. As mentioned previously, he passed the test with Roman Reigns with quote unquote flying colors. So there is a serious singles push in line for Ford at some point. Many thought with the draft happening, they were going to do the split right now. They didn't. But now it's interesting to see that even though they didn't split Dawkins and Ford, that they are going to possibly still go on with the split and keep them on the same brand. I can't remember who it was, Jose. I think it was. I think it was Vince. It was either Dutch or Vince Russo that said when this happens, he thinks Dawkins is just going to be dead in the water. He's going to be the Marty Jannetty of this thing. Tez obviously going to get pushed.
That sounds likely. That sounds like a Vince Russo line.
Yeah. I swear it might have been Dutch though on Smack Talk, but God, I can't remember.
Yeah, I can't remember. We get so many quotes from both of them. Sometimes they just blur together.
Yeah.
But it'll be interesting, man, because they don't necessarily have to break up the Street Profits in order for Montez to be successful.
No.
Yeah, Dawkins may end up, back there in the smoke and catering, but Dawkins is actually pretty talented too. And Dawkins, I think, can end up having a pretty good singles career too. Excuse me. Singles career as well, if given the opportunity. Then that way they could just kind of go their own ways and not necessarily have a breakup or a turn. Because sometimes when you do a breakup and a turn, it doesn't work out for the best for that second person. Best example is Heavy Machinery.
Yeah.
When Tucker turned on Otis, man, you thought that, Tucker was going to get this mega push as a heel. That never happened.
He barely was on Raw.
He was barely on Raw and bye. Out of here.
I mean, you could test the waters with Dawkins to see if he can be a solo star. And if not, you could pair him up with a guy like Mace, who got split from T-Bar from the old Retribution guys. Mace, had a serviceable singles match with Finn Balor. It was a very short match, but they're obviously seeing what they can do with him as a solo act. If they do the split and both Dawkins and Mace are not really putting a footing as singles competitors, I don't see where it would be a bad idea to maybe make them a team as well when you make Montez the obvious single star that he's destined to be.
Yeah, man, I don't know where this is gonna go. This is all chatter, reported. Nothing's confirmed about this.
Yeah,
but we did get to see some glimpses of what happened, what he can do as a singles competitor a few weeks against Roman Reigns, and I think that performance in its own speaks for itself of what he can do, and he's great on the mic as well.
Mm-hmm. I think it's obvious that eventually he's going to be. He's going to have a lot of effort put behind him and him only. I've said this a long time ago, but I see a lot of Seth Rollins in him in terms of abilities. He's a little more athletic than Seth, but I could see that type of a push, in terms of molding a superstar. You look at what Seth Rollins has done. I think Montez can maybe follow that same kind of blueprint of going out on your own and doing your own thing, and with the skill set that you have. I feel like they could really, I think they're really going to, it's just a matter of when, but I think they're definitely going to put something behind him as a single star.
I think in this new season of Monday Night Raw, since it's kicking off next week after Crown Jewel, I think we're going to start seeing some glimpses of that. Only time will tell. It's just like you said, it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when.
Yeah, definitely. He's just too talented to not have the full steam put behind him in terms of not only a Intercontinental or U.S. title run, but eventually, I definitely can foresee Montez Ford being a world champion someday.
Absolutely. 100% agree. Guys, engage with the show. Go ahead and give us the thumbs up, the heart emojis, the laugh emojis, the angry emojis. Sound off in the comments. Let us know what you think of these two stories that we've covered so far. We got Danhausen and Bray Wyatt possibly joining forces with some Twitter stuff involved. And then we got Montez Ford possibly going into a singles run. But the big talk of the entire weekend was what went down on Friday. The AEW SmackDown 30-minute head-to-head 10 to 10:30 time slot. Everybody's talking about it, even though from the entire spectrum of things, WWE overall got the big win in the overall viewership. But when you break it down into categories and subgenres, they're looking for that coveted key demographic, 18 to 34, which AEW won by just a little bit over 50,000. It was like 285 to 324,000, something like that. That AEW won that little sliver piece of the pie. So now the internet, the Twitter, Roddy, the wrestling Twitter is talking AEW beat this, WWE is doing that. Shane Helms, WWE producer, had something to say about this whole AEW, WWE looking at the ratings at the same time as the shows are going down. Shane Helms spills it. What did he say, man?
Talking about how, of course, obviously the 18 to 49 demo is the key one when you look at networks and everything like that. They view that as the biggest moneymaker, where AEW did get the win when they went head to head. Shane Helms says that as someone who was there, he didn't hear a single word spoken about it. But I don't think as an agent, he's not going to hear any words about it. This is going to be more high level, more on the corporate side of things. They are obviously going to be very focused on how they compete in that 18 to 49 demo. I don't think it's going to be something that is talked around with wrestlers or agents, anything, so to speak, especially while the shows are going on. They're going to focus on what's going on with the show. I think this is more, these are going to be more focused on a high level, corporate levels than just agents talking during a show. So obviously Helms, I don't think he would hear anything about it, because it's not going to be of a concern when you're at a television taping.
Yeah, and I think they're not really concerned about that either, because they got their own show that they're running. I think not only just because they wanted to maybe kind of test the waters on that head-to-head with AEW, but
Yeah.
they're also on cable TV and they can afford to kind of get a little bit more time slot, get a little bit more bang for their buck when it comes to their time slot. And I don't think that they're as much concerned to what they're doing as them on putting on a great product, which is something I actually want to kind of piggy off back, because Eric Bischoff had a great comment on his podcast. I think it was yesterday or earlier in the week, where he mentioned that Tony Khan really needs to concentrate on putting on good wrestling shows and be less concerned with what WWE is doing. And I totally agree with what he's saying. And I believe what Shane Helms is saying, where now, why are they going to discuss it if they're putting on a show? You know?
Yeah,
they're not going to be concerned with that.
No, it's more. That's going to be more. That's more of a high level concern. It's not a concern of the agents. So, I don't think they could care less. I don't think the wrestlers can care less. They probably like the competition and maybe are. Both wrestlers and agents are looking to see what AEW is doing, but they're not going to. The numbers, those ratings, are not something they're going to care about. They're going to care about the competition, but not the ratings, so to speak. And and Eric Bischoff just basically told Tony Khan to shut up and wrestle. He says that he doesn't mind some of the things that Tony does, but at the same time there are other things. I think the main reason of why Bischoff told Tony Khan to shut up and wrestle is the fact that not to call your shots ahead of time, because if you get smoked, then it's going to come back worse for you. And I think that was the main point of Bischoff's on his podcast. The main point there was to not call your shots and basically guarantee wins ahead of time against a company that's been established for over 40 years.
Exactly. And what's interesting also about that comment is when Eric Bischoff was competing with WWE, he was competing with 3 hours head to head every Monday night. He was competing. Tony Khan said that he wasn't going to do the same mistakes that Eric Bischoff is making. Bischoff said, yeah, you're not going to do my same mistakes, but now you're creating all your mistakes. So I think Tony Khan should listen to some of the veterans in the game, and in order to not be so much, I'm not saying not to be as competitive, but don't pay too much attention to what they're doing. Focus on putting on the absolute best product that you can put on, that you can attract eyes to, in order for that product to stand alone on its own without having to be compared with the Titan that is WWE.
Yeah, exactly. And so, yeah, I can see Tony is definitely an enthusiastic guy and uses hyperbole a lot about this is the greatest Dynamite coming up, and not all of them can be the greatest Dynamites ever, but at the same time, some of the things he does, I do applaud him for. I do applaud him for having that competitive spirit, because that's going to trickle down to the wrestlers. They're going to, they know that they have a leader that believes in what they do and what they're going to do for a very long time. And so I think some of the stuff he does is good. And Bischoff said it perfectly, that I think just mainly, tone it down on calling your own shots. Maybe tone it down on saying Monday Night Raw sucked, even though it probably did last week or so. When he said that comment, I think it was a pretty poor Raw. So that, but also he's saying that to pump up his fan base as well. So
Of course. There's a reason behind it.
Yeah, I don't, so it's, there are, I think a majority of the things that Tony Khan is doing is perfectly fine, but there are some of those things that he's maybe crossing the line a little bit, not really crossing the line, but should be careful of some of the territories that he's touching there.
Definitely interesting topic here on people sounding off on Tony Khan, what he should and shouldn't do. But in the end, man, the fans are winning. The fans are the ones that are getting all this wrestling.
Oh, yeah.
Both sides. And not just both of those sides, just everything that's going on. MLW's putting good stuff. New Japan's putting on good stuff. Ring of Honor's putting on good stuff. So it's always a treat when every single company is on its A game right now, trying to get our attention. And in the end, we end up winning. Exactly.
Right. You got Bound for Glory coming up this Saturday, and that's It's going to be a tremendous card, and you might crown an unlikely champion on Saturday too, who's under the radar, had a hell of a year in Josh Alexander, but not a lot of people know it. So if he does beat Christian, it's going to put a lot of eyes on the product. Say, who is this guy? What's he doing? And then maybe they go back and see just how great of matches he's had ever since he's separated from Ethan Page.
For sure, guys. Tons of stuff that we got coming down the pipeline this week, man. We got the Crown Jewel post show immediately after Crown Jewel pay-per-view here on the Sportskeeda Wrestling YouTube channel, Facebook, and Twitter. We're also going to be doing an international live trivia. I'm going head-to-head against Rick Ucchino, the current reigning trivia champion. Even though this is not for the title, I am a last-minute replacement as the workhorse of Sportskeeda Wrestling. So I got to fulfill my obligations, and I'll tell you what, though, pride while whooping some ass.
As commissioner of the STF, Sportskeeda Trivia Federation, if you happen to beat Rick on Thursday, that might make the December title match a triple threat.
All right. I guess I'm going to have to pull a Daniel Bryan on this one then.
But of course, next month we have Survivor Series. So we're going to get a little team trivia action for you next month. So stay tuned for that.
That's going to be an interesting affair, guys. Check out all the exclusive interviews we got ahead of Crown Jewel. Paul Heyman has a lot to say to our very own Rick Ucchino. Check out last night's Vince Russo and Dr. Chris Featherstone on Legion of Raw. Check out my show every Wednesday night, The Debrief, covering AEW and NXT with my boy Rico El Glorioso. And then every Friday night with Dutch Mantel, SP3, and Rick Ucchino covering on Smack Talk. So make sure you catch all that content because it keeps coming and it's never going to stop, guys. It's never going to stop. All right, guys. So for Jeremy Bennett, I'm Jose G. And remember, when you guys are watching wrestling, what's the most important thing to do, Jeremy?
It is to enjoy wrestling. Yeah.
Boom.
Yeah.